I wanna say that they're still trying to crack the code here. I wouldn't be surprised if now they're kinda running into the issue of, like, too many cooks in the kitchen. They're like, "Is this all conflicting now? Does it even make sense? Are we patching things together?" Even in all these discussions, Lucasfilm has identified Rey as still their biggest live action draw. Like, this is still, like, the biggest figure that people know in Star Wars because, I mean, let's face it, no matter what your thoughts are on the sequels, you know it's Rey and Kylo. Those are, like, really your big 2 figures there, right? It's just been Scooper War. Like, it's just one person says this, another person says that. Maybe you hear a tidbit in one of the trades, but it's nothing definitive. It's only, like, when a writer has exited, honestly. I think they're still working on it. I think they're just now kinda approaching it as, like, we have 15 years from the original concept after The Rise of Skywalker. We don't need to rush it. Like, yes, it's been, 6 years since The Rise of Skywalker came out, but we still have technically 9 more. So I think there isn't necessarily a rush for it in the same way that you might have felt with, like, the original trilogy actors coming back for the sequels. You're like, "We have to, like, get their big moments in," right, and all that. Now you can kinda go through what everyone was hoping for in the '90s and late '80s with the sequel characters, let them kinda spring in a couple of different stories. We're seeing the struggles that they're having with the Mandoverse. They're refusing to recast so far. The deepfake is good, don't get me wrong, but is it enough to carry a full performance yet? Not quite, and, a lot of people are having a lot more mixed feelings about AI as it's becoming more and more prevalent. Gosling might be force sensitive, but maybe his, like, nephew or the kid that he's protecting, his son or whatever, might also be force sensitive, and then they'll show up in the Rey's New Jedi Order film as, like, one of the students at the academy or something, right? And I think that's the smartest move you can do. Make these things that you flesh out the sequel era. Start off with Starfighter, things that don't necessarily have to be big, but can occupy different chunks of territory in people's headspace of, like, what the sequel era feels like, how the galaxy is dealing with everything. Build out the world. You can have Rey kind of pop in her head here and there, and Finn start showing up and leading some, like, more militant Jedi or First Order reclaimed stormtroopers, or maybe we see Poe show up and, like, come in with, like, a squadron and save Gosling and the kid at the last moment or something. There's many different ways you can just filter in these characters, have them be active, take up 15 to 30 minutes of time without committing to a whole new film with them just yet. Build up their reputation, build up a cast of characters and a group that they can be with because that's something that the prequel characters had. That's something the original trilogy characters had. By the Rise of Skywalker, everything had kind of shrunk into, like, this is just Rey and Kylo slash Ben leading it, and then everybody else just kept on losing more value. This is a chance to grow everything foundationally, and then once you get people's reputations for the character a little bit more improved, slowly and slowly over different movies, maybe some TV shows, animation, whatever it might be, then that just gives you more confidence in knowing, like, okay, this is kind of what people are really appreciating about right now. This is what they're appreciating about the sequel era. That's gonna feed into how our writing is gonna really play out and the execution of that in the script. So, maybe having that as the first piece was gonna always be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I think it would be just honestly a flat out mistake to have made this like the first movie back into theaters. I think it's too divisive. The Ray movie can exist, and I want it to. Like I want redemption for these characters, this era, the sequels. But it's right now the most divisive thing Star Wars has. They need a string of successes. If they have Andor season 2, which is a great thing to have left us on for the remainder of this year. Yes, Vision season 3, but nobody's really going to count that towards their win-loss, record here for Star Wars movies and TV. So, if you come into next year and whatever the first project is next year, I'm assuming it's Mandalorian and Grogu. I wouldn't put it past it actually being Maul Shadow Lord starting at the beginning of next year, and animation has with Star Wars with the Bad Batch come out in January twice in the last 2 seasons of mainline Star Wars animated TV. So I wouldn't be shocked if it's Maul Shadow Lord at the beginning of the year, but I feel like it's going to be Mandalorian and Grogu. And so if Mandalorian and Grogu is the thing that kicks off Star Wars next year, that needs to be a hit. And then you follow that up with Maul Shadow Lord. And then you follow it up with Ahsoka season 2, and if that's really good, and then if you follow it up with Ninth Jedi, which is like their big experiment next year, with it being first full series of anime that Star Wars has ever done. If you have 4 legit hits in 2026 coming off of the maybe the best thing Disney Star Wars has ever done, in Andor season 2. Now you're on a hot streak. Then you run in with the Rey movie because you've built up enough goodwill to where, yes, it will still get review bombed. Yes, it still will have its haters online, but you've built up enough goodwill to where, like, those people who might be on the fence, they're like, the sequels weren't really my thing. Right now, they're like, but Star Wars has just sucked or it's been mediocre. I haven't really enjoyed Star Wars for a while, so I don't think I'll see the Rey movie. If you build up enough goodwill, then those people are like, the sequels weren't really my thing, but Star Wars has been so good lately. Maybe I'll go check it out. Maybe it'll be a little better. You just flip the narrative. I don't think it's a mistake for them to just be like, hey, let's take our time with this. Let's take as long as it possibly needs. Daisy Ridley is still very young. Getting Star Wars back on stable footing to where at least 4 out of 5 things are pretty good and maybe 2 out of 5 things are great. If they can get to that point, they'll have earned enough goodwill that I think people who aren't sequel fans, who do have some interest in just whatever next Star Wars is, those people will give it a chance. But right now, I think those people aren't giving things a chance because they've invested time and money into Star Wars projects. They haven't really been satisfied. The only reason I could see it completely being shelved is just that they like what Sean Levy and what Simon Kinberg are doing more. And they're like, hey, this is a great start to our post Rise of Skywalker stuff. Let's just get Ray back in these projects first, and then we'll tackle 15 years later when we get to 15 years later. Like, we don't need to rush the future when we have these stories that are supposed to take place right now. Let's just do these so we don't confuse people, so we don't have all these crisscrossing timelines. That's where I can see this is shelved. Hello there, Star Wars Lads fans. Thank you so much for watching this video. This was actually a clip from one of our live streams and Q&As. So if you'd like to join us every single Tuesday around 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, make sure you join us. It'll allow you to ask a question that might be turned into a video. Hopefully you join us. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below all of your thoughts on this clip. Thanks for watching, and we will see you all next time.